When I reflect on this, I always tell people, just go for it. It's going to be intimidating. You can't predict what you'll encounter, but the journey itself makes it worth pursuing. I learned the hard way that you can't do it alone. I used to micromanage every detail, thinking it was the only way to succeed. For a time, it worked, but eventually it became a roadblock. Success isn't a solo venture. You need a team, allies smarter than you, and yes, even a few strategic adversaries to sharpen your game. Meanwhile, in the world of Hollywood, a shockwave just hit. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's name has emerged in the latest tranche of leaked Epstein documents, igniting a storm of speculation. This isn't just another celebrity controversy. It's a moment where the public confronts a staggering contradiction: a man celebrated for discipline, family values, and an unyielding work ethic now entwined, however tangentially, with one of America's darkest figures. The questions aren't simply about what he knew, they're about what may have been concealed, and why these revelations are surfacing now. All this unfolds as Johnson's career, once considered untouchable, faces unprecedented pressure. Congressional mandates demand disclosure, but much of it will inevitably be redacted, leaving the public hungry and frustrated for clarity. The timing couldn't be more dramatic. Sources confirm Johnson's name appears in the newly released Epstein files just as his $250 million Red One production teeters on the brink of collapse. His involvement with Disney is uncertain, and studios that once banked on his star power now seem to quietly sideline him. Layered on top of this are the tremors of a looming $3 billion kidnapping lawsuit. Each development alone is seismic. Together, they create a storm threatening to upend his Hollywood empire. In short, this is more than coincidence. Johnson's connection to these files lands at the exact moment his professional world is unraveling, and the repercussions could redefine how both the public and the industry see him. Some people close to the situation claim the recent attention isn't random at all, but the result of a carefully coordinated exposure. That idea echoes a lesson I once learned. Just because something has never been done before doesn't mean it's impossible. It simply requires a different route forward. Dwayne Johnson's identity has always been carefully constructed. He embraced the name "The Rock" as a tribute to his roots in professional wrestling, a world shaped by his father, grandfather, and extended family. Over time, that persona evolved into something larger: the universally recognizable figure of discipline, positivity, and hard work. To the public, he became the charming, motivational family man, sharing intense workouts at sunrise and preaching humility online. But behind the scenes, a more complicated picture has recently been suggested. Some who worked on major productions describe a star who could be difficult to work with, citing long delays, an intense need for control, and unpredictable behavior on set. A recent industry report painted a portrait of a production environment strained by chronic lateness and skyrocketing costs. One individual went so far as to say that inconsistency was the only predictable thing on certain days. Now, with Johnson's name allegedly appearing in newly revealed Epstein-related documents, linked to a network known for secrecy, elite connections, and restricted gatherings, the contrast feels unsettling to some observers. The narrative of discipline and control now sits uncomfortably beside associations with a world built on exclusivity and silence. The timing of these revelations has only intensified the speculation. Questions about his behavior during the filming of Red Notice in 2020 resurfaced, including claims that he ignored strict health protocols while cast and crew were held to them. While not proven, some view these past accusations as part of a larger pattern of boundary pushing and a sense of immunity from consequences. Meanwhile, the newest document release has broadened the scope of public concern. A wide range of prominent figures, entertainers, executives, political leaders, appear in the records. What has drawn particular attention, however, are the individuals who allegedly maintained connections long after Epstein's first conviction in 2008. That detail has fueled deeper scrutiny in the entertainment world. Defenders of Johnson argue that any mention of his name is being taken out of context or driven by external agendas. Still, the questions continue to grow louder. Why is this information emerging now? And why, as his professional standing appears to be faltering, his once strong reputation as a dependable, easy-to-work-with producer has been replaced by reports of tension, clashes with co-stars, and conflicts over creative authority. Past disagreements, such as the well-known rift with Vin Diesel, were initially viewed as isolated personality conflicts. But insiders now suggest these moments were early signs of deeper issues. Similar tensions reportedly surfaced during Red Notice with Ryan Reynolds, allegedly rooted not in artistic differences, but in an unspoken struggle for control. BY 2024, as projects underperformed and production costs soared, studio relationships reportedly cooled. The golden image that once surrounded him began to fracture. And as more details leak into the public eye, the persona that so many admired appears increasingly complex, perhaps even misleading for those who accepted it without question. Sometimes, it is easier to believe the image that is presented than to question what lies underneath. Many people, in one way or another, have fallen for a story that felt just believable enough. At some point, you start to feel a gnawing unease, a sense that things aren't authentic, that something is off. For Dwayne Johnson, that tension may have been mirrored behind the scenes. Disney quietly distanced itself, shelving Pirates of the Caribbean reboot plans that would have followed Johnny Depp, citing scheduling conflicts at the time. Insiders now suggest the move may have been part of a larger strategy, a corporation preemptively stepping back before an impending storm, and that storm may have arrived. The recently released Epstein documents connect across years of speculation, hinting at a network of contacts stretching far beyond coincidence. The House Oversight Committee's release names numerous high-profile figures, including Trump, Clinton, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and, according to early access reports, Dwayne Johnson. While inclusion in these documents doesn't imply wrongdoing, the optics are intense. The files reveal casual mentions of dinners, flights, and social connections with prominent figures in Hollywood. If Johnson's name is indeed among them, the implications for his public image and business ventures could be profound. Johnson isn't just a movie star, he's a business empire. From sports and tequila brands to media ventures and even political signaling, his public persona has been carefully curated. What once looked like neutral strategy may now be interpreted as self-preservation. Industry insiders are starting to speak out. Crew members describe a star who can be elitist, untouchable, and unpredictable. Even WrestleMania fans, long loyal, reportedly expressed frustration when he arrived late to a main event, a scenario unthinkable just a decade ago. Past conflicts with colleagues like Vin Diesel and Ryan Reynolds, once framed as creative disagreements or personality clashes, are now being reassessed. Some insiders suggest these disputes were early signs of others trying to distance themselves from potential fallout, and the central question remains: why does Johnson appear in the Epstein documents? With each data release, there has been speculation about political motives, damage control, or distraction. Could this be another example of that? Or is it a genuine exposure of Hollywood connections that have long flown under the radar? Whispers suggest more names may emerge in future document releases, potentially revealing the full reach of Epstein's network and its ties to the entertainment industry. Johnson's apparent inclusion, his public silence, and the growing scrutiny of his empire have sent shockwaves across Hollywood. It's important to note that social interactions alone, attending a dinner at Epstein's residence, for instance, do not equate to participation in any illegal activity. Public figures like Chelsea Handler attended such gatherings, and that context matters. Presence does not equal culpability. Yet once Johnson's name appeared in these files, the dominoes began to fall, and the industry braced for the repercussions of what could be just the first wave of revelations. Disney's sudden pivot away from plans involving Dwayne Johnson was initially explained as a scheduling issue, but some inside the industry now interpret it as quiet risk management, a precautionary step to insulate a major franchise from potential controversy. Similar conversations are reportedly taking place elsewhere, with executives at other studios and production companies reevaluating projects connected to him, including Red One. What once looked like routine logistics now feels, to some observers, like preemptive containment. Within Hollywood circles, the tone surrounding Johnson has noticeably shifted. A name that once symbolized reliability now draws hesitation. Studio conversations reportedly lean less toward gossip and more toward cautious strategy, Who could be affected next? How deep do the connections go? Observers have pointed out patterns that make the situation feel unsettling to them. The private travel, tightly controlled environments, layers of staff, and an insulated working atmosphere on set. None of this is unusual for a superstar of his scale, yet in light of recent conversations involving Epstein's former network and methods of operating through secrecy and hierarchy, some have begun drawing uncomfortable parallels in structure, even if not in proven behavior. On the set of Red One, several individuals described an atmosphere where Johnson's authority went largely unchallenged. Budgets expanded, schedules slipped, and crews remained on standby for extended periods. According to a report published by The Wrap, consistent delays had a measurable financial impact. Some within the production world interpreted this not simply as disorganization or ego, but as a form of subtle dominance, a reminder of who held control. To be clear, appearing in documents tied to Epstein does not imply guilt or involvement in illegal acts. Many public figures' names appear in correspondence simply because of proximity in elite social or business circles. In fact, history shows that attending events, appearing in photographs, or being mentioned in contact lists does not automatically indicate wrongdoing. The public is increasingly capable of distinguishing between casual association and actual criminal behavior. Johnson's team has dismissed the entire situation as a smear campaign and maintains that any perceived link is coincidental. Still, some former associates believe the current scrutiny isn't random. They argue that moments once considered isolated, like the reported breaking of quarantine guidelines in 2020 or high-profile conflicts with fellow stars, are now being reinterpreted as signs of a broader pattern, one in which ordinary rules did not quite seem to apply. In Hollywood, power has always been tied to perception. Johnson's carefully crafted image, discipline, humility, consistency, is now being tested by external forces and resurfacing narratives. The entertainment industry has seen similar cycles before. Public trust erodes, partnerships pause, endorsements become questionable, and public-facing materials quietly disappear. For a figure whose career was built on dependability, perception alone can be enough to cause disruption. And that may be the most important detail of all. Not what has been proven, but what people now believe might be possible. The conversations may be happening behind closed doors, but the tension is unmistakable across the entertainment industry. From Burbank to Manhattan, the atmosphere feels tight, uneasy. When you zoom out far enough, a larger pattern begins to appear. The Epstein files aren't only pulling individual names into the light, they are exposing the mechanics of a system, one where power, wealth, influence, and silence were deeply intertwined for decades. To some observers, Dwayne Johnson's current scrutiny seems to fit into a much wider reckoning. The same mechanisms that once shielded figures like Harvey Weinstein, Prince Andrew, and other powerful individuals now appear to be fracturing. PR teams that once polished reputations are supposedly revisiting old strategies, cleaning digital footprints, and quietly rewriting narratives, not because they were unaware, but because ignoring warning signs was once part of the system itself. This doesn't feel to many like one isolated controversy. It feels like the start of a shift, an industry forced to confront the structures that enabled unchecked power. IT helps to understand that Epstein's operation was never solely about secrecy. It was also about perception. Carefully constructed narratives served as a kind of psychological armor. In Johnson's case, his public identity, disciplined, grounded, family-oriented, relentlessly hardworking, became a consistent and powerful storyline. According to some industry voices, that image made criticism easier to dismiss, conflicts easier to rebrand as misunderstandings, and doubt easier to ignore. That doesn't imply wrongdoing. It raises questions about whether image itself can become a tool, one that protects, deflects, and reshapes reality. Those who studied Epstein long before his arrest often noted that public perception was his strongest shield. His associates understood that controlling the narrative could control the consequences. They surrounded themselves with respected names, donated to high-profile causes, and aligned with credible institutions to reinforce legitimacy. When some now look at Johnson's broad empire, from fitness brands and motivational messaging to family-friendly projects, they see an image that is more than branding. To them, It resembles protection, each positive act reinforcing the outer shell of trust. This is not evidence of misconduct. It is an observation about how reputations can become fortresses in industries that reward likability as much as success. Sources familiar with the Epstein investigations have previously described a practice sometimes called reputation laundering, the process of elevating someone's public image so high that criticism becomes difficult to sustain. In that context, Johnson's hardest-working, most positive person in the room, reputation now feels, to some, like part of a familiar formula. Not proof of involvement, but a structural similarity that invites uncomfortable reflection. And through all of it, Johnson himself has said very little. He has spoken in the past about arriving in Hollywood from the world of professional wrestling, determined to prove himself, surrounded by doubt and skepticism. He committed to discipline, consistency, and long-term thinking. That narrative was built in response to criticism, and for many years, it worked. What's different now is not just the external pressure. It's the public's growing understanding of how powerful systems operate, and how the same tools that build heroes can also hide uncomfortable truths. Whether this moment leads to confirmation, correction, or clarification remains unknown. But one thing is certain. Once a carefully constructed image begins to crack, the world starts asking questions it never asked before. He came from success in one world, then Hollywood opened its doors, and he walked in ready to conquer a new kingdom. But instead of fiery denials or bold defenses when rumors surfaced, there was only silence. And in a town built on noise, silence screams the loudest. Now, former crew members are beginning to speak, their stories sounding less like gossip and more like pressure finally released. They describe an atmosphere of control. Every light, every angle, even the catering scrutinized. To outsiders, it looked like discipline. To them, it felt like fear of losing control of the narrative. Behind the curtains, the real machinery is in motion. Lawyers are moving quickly. Non-disclosure agreements are being dusted off and re-examined. Private investigators are quietly tracing every possible weak link. Studios once eager to be associated are now acting like they've never shared a room, let alone a contract. As one insider bluntly put it, he's become too dangerous to touch. Hollywood has survived plenty of scandals, but this one carries a different weight. Epstein's shadow hangs over every new whisper, and the mere suggestion of proximity to that world is enough to shut down entire departments. Online investigators are already piecing together timelines, matching flight patterns to filming schedules, creating endless threads based on coincidence, curiosity, and suspicion. Nothing is proven, yet the internet is rarely patient with yet. The storm is building, and it feels like only a matter of time before it hits the mainstream. When it does, charm and motivational clips won't be enough to rebuild what cracks. And if past patterns hold true, the next wave of information may not just involve one man. It could expose names that bankroll entire empires, people powerful enough to silence stories with a single conversation. It's easy to call this karma, but that's a shallow explanation. What's really unfolding looks more like a system devouring one of its own to protect itself, an industry that applauds control right up until that control becomes a liability. Unverified links and eerie parallels fuel speculation as new documents loom. Private jets, closed circles, and unanswered gaps raise questions about truth versus coincidence. Nothing is confirmed, yet anticipation builds for potential revelations that could reshape Hollywood's image. For now, curiosity and caution remain vital in a world rarely as clean as it appears.